of the 276, yes, 276 movies that I reviewed, released in the calendar year of 2023. These are the best around. Let's get to the list of movies now. I'm John Rentham with my 25 best movies of 2023 list with some honorable mentions. Let me know your honorable mentions in the comments, please. Check out my worst movies of the year list because my oh my, I certainly went off about a number of those. But this is about the stuff that I was absolutely enthralled by, some things that I was surprised by, some things that absolutely exceeded my high expectations. Oh, high expectations. But yes, 276 movies that I saw released this year, and it was hard to whittle them down into a top 25. And the honorable mentions, pretty goddamn deep. Now, I will say, A grades to F grades, it's really far ahead for the F grades. But a lot of A grades and some B. Not bad, a B. I just wanted a B with your report card. If you're a Riff Tracks fan, you're dying laughing. Anyway, so honorable mentions starting now. Perpetrator. A Shudder original that was a little bit busy, but was quite good. Alicia Silverstone was in it, continuing her appearances in random movies, like when she was in The Lodge, which is a bleak and depressing movie and is also great, but it came out a few years ago, so I can't include it on this list. But I'll give it a shout. Shout, let it all out. And Dumb Money was not a movie I could do without. It was a mystery movie, and I'm glad I watched it. Come on, even with the human lemur king Pete Davidson in it. I'm sure he's nice, but he does remind me of a shaved lemur. And if you've seen a shaved lemur, oh my goodness, it will haunt you until your dying days. Always delete your search history, by the way. A Haunting in Venice with Kenneth Branagh and many people. A Haunting in Venice, and it was a great Hercule Poirot mystery. This was something I actually went to see a sneak screening of in the city of Bellevue, about an hour away, and that was really fun. I had to go up basically a fucking skyscraper to get to the theater, because we're smart builders in Washington. If anybody's been to Bellevue, you know what area I'm talking about, but this was quite good. You could argue probably the least of the Hercule Poirot movies that Kenneth has done, but Tina Fey, I still would, Michelle Yeoh, and a lot of great actors in this. Even if the twist was very obvious and I called it from the very beginning, or at least once they introduced those particular characters, it still was quite good and deserves a shout. Renfield. It had Nicolas Cage, it had another Nicholas in. I'm forgetting the young man's last name already, but it also had Awkwafina. I did not hate Awkwafina in this, unlike The Little Mermaid, and it was fun. Also had Jenna Canella in it. And they are great. They are great. I'm just so happy they are in more movies. And it was just a fun, blood-soaked, horror comedy that didn't really make any money in theaters. That's disappointing. Come On, Eileen, oh, you know what I mean. This had Thomasin McKenzie and Anne Hathaway, and it was really great, from Neon Studios, called Eileen. Yeah, that's a callback to the Eileen review that I did. And by the way, I do want to mention that every single one of these movies was reviewed in full on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist. And Eileen was quite good. Not perfect, but quite good. Thomasin McKenzie is just proving to be such a rising actress. And we get They Clone Tyrone, a surprising Netflix original that had great social commentary on how black people are treated. And also was a great, and I mean a great, bit of horror and comedy mixed together, and it was quite good. It was maybe a bit long in the tooth. I think that was the same, but it was very well done. Shortcomings. Sherry Cola was in one of two movies that I ended up enjoying this year. More on that other one in a little bit. And this was a low-key effort that turned out to have great character study, and yeah, maybe the grade I gave it was a little bit too high, but it ended up being quite entertaining, and she is a fucking delight. She is a delight. Didn't even know about her until another movie that I'll talk about here in a little bit, but I'm so glad I discovered her because she has great comedic timing. Rye Lane is one that a lot of people have really praised. It's a Hulu original. It's about two people in London, somewhere in London, but at least somewhere in the UK environs that had bad breakups. They met, and over the course of a day are talking, getting to know each other, going through some weird shit. And it was good. It was actually really surprising. I'm not a big romantic comedy fan. This was a different kind of rom-com. Sure, there were issues to it, but it was good. It was good for what it was. It Lives Inside. that mother was gorgeous. Good grief, that actress is gorgeous. She's in her early 40s and looks like she's about late 20s. But it was a very good twist on demonic horror. And, well, yeah, there were a few issues I had. Ultimately, Neon Studios got another winner here. Infinity Pool. Speaking of Neon Studios, Mia Goth. God, I love Mia Goth. God, she's so weird, so delightful, so ethereally beautiful. I think that's a word. But she was great in X, Pearl, and has been good in so many other things. Is rising up as a lead actress in horror and in just, you know, great movies. And you can definitely tell Soderbergh had something to do with this because it was wild. Not for everybody, but it was pretty wild. Satan in Bars with Cake. It made me cry. That's why I'm putting it here. Yeah, the story's kind of typical, but it had a great dynamic between the two lead actresses and was just really emotional and showed how friendship can deeply affect you when one of those friends is no longer there. And that's not the last time I'm going to revisit that particular theme, just with a little bit of a twist. Cocaine Bear, one of Ray Liotta's last movies, and it was about a bear on cocaine. Sure, should have leaned a little bit more into that and a little bit more into the silliness. Admittedly, re-watching some of it, it loses a little bit of luster when it tries to be serious, but it doesn't take itself so seriously that you can't enjoy the fact that it's called Cocaine Bear. It also didn't make me hate Kerry Russell, unlike Dark Skies. And I don't hate Kerry Russell, I just hate that Dark Skies exists. The Boy and the Heron. Miyazaki's likely last movie, considering he's in his early 80s, and this one took a long time to produce. And while I admit that it's not his absolute best movie, I would argue Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, The Wind Rises are above that, and Spirited Away and a few others. The Boy and the Heron was a deeply personal story that definitely could tug at your heartstrings and had great animation and great style. It also, however, felt like a bit of a movie where some of it felt a little bit samey and it didn't exactly feel like something that you needed to dive into like as quickly as his other movies. I encourage you guys to check it out, but it is on the second tier of his stuff. American Fiction. I wanted to put this in my top 25, but upon rethinking, I think the closing moments don't necessarily undo it, but kind of take away a little bit of the steam that it had. It doesn't fall apart. And Jeffrey Knight was just great. Just great in this. He was spectacular in this. Jeffrey from, by the way, The Hunger Games and so many others. He was tremendous here. And Issa Rae was absolutely great in a supporting role. Bright, funny, beautiful. It's great to see her in something. American Fiction was very good. The Royal Hotel. A lot of Neon Studio love here. This was about two women that take a job to earn money at a remote hotel in Australia. And let's just say, oh boy, the locals treat them like shit because sexism. And it does build up a lot of dread. Sure, the ending is a little bit okay, but it works. Suzume. Another one I wanted to put in the top 25, but admittedly, upon reflection, there's a section of this movie where everything just grinds to a halt, and even though there's some good stuff in it, you could have really cut that down by about 15 minutes and you wouldn't have missed shit. But it made me feel for a talking three-legged chair. That's some talent. Let's get into the top 25 now, though, because that was a lot of time on the honorable mentions. Polite Society. I Am the Fury. This one was great. I really enjoyed just the dynamic of it being, you know, Hindi women in the UK and the stuff about sisterhood and just the wild comedy and just the fact that it didn't overstay its welcome. And it featured two very good lead actresses and a great supporting cast and was just a lot of fun. Sure, the premise, the twist is bonkers, but you know what? It was a lot of fun, and this deserved to make a lot more money in theaters. I'm not surprised it didn't do well. I ended up being at a private screening for it, despite the marketing, which wasn't necessarily viral, but was enough that people would have been aware of it. Polite Society ends up being one of my favorites. Brooklyn 4-5. It was great as far as a one-location shoot, great horror, and when it kicks into gear, boy does it ever, and it's a great character study. And a great Shudder original, by the way. And the director using his grandfather's experiences from World War II and working on it with him before he passed away, and a lot of the stuff that happened here, feeling deeply personal. While, yes, admittedly, there are a few rough edges, it does end up being mostly a smooth ride and worthwhile. Then we get to the Persian version. I wanted to put this higher initially, and I think part of the reason I didn't was because there's so many other great movies that are out there, but the Persian version made me cry. There were some moments between mother and daughter, and the explanation for how people came to be. There was great storytelling. Great storytelling. I can't wait to see what the rest of the cast does and the director does in the future, because this was some great shit. This was really, really good stuff, and I'm very happy I sat down and watched this. Because I had seen a couple trailers for it, and then didn't see anything for it, and then suddenly, oh shit, it's coming out. Well, let me dive on it. So yes, it's just a bit about Polite Society, because while it does have some comedy, it has really good emotional depth. Not that the Polite Society didn't, but the Persian version beats it just a little bit. I encourage you guys to check out both of those, as well as It Lives Inside, and see how you feel about more representation of Middle Eastern, Indian, people in more movies, because really that should be the case. Not just Bollywood, Tollywood, whatever, or films of that particular country, productions that get, that honor the culture and everything while being released in wide, release, rather, in theaters in the U.S. I'm stumbling here. Let's get to number 22. Dream Scenario. Nicolas Cage being in people's dreams, and then those dreams turn to nightmares, and it's from A24. Because of course it's from A24, because why the fuck wouldn't it be from A24? A24 and Nicolas Cage, a recipe for not disaster. This was fun. I traveled probably about 90 miles round, or not 90 miles, 90 minutes round trip. Actually, now that I think about 90 miles to watch this movie, and was happy I did. It ended up being a great entertaining piece, and decent amount of people in the theaters, and it was enjoyable. It was very, very enjoyable. I encourage you guys to check it out. Number 21. The only hope is the sweet relief of death. Oh, come on now. Lumily from Super Mario Brothers, the movie. The Super Mario Brothers movie, however you want to say it. Not the 1993 one. I did not think this was going to be good. I thought it might be okay. There'd be a few bits of nostalgia, but it wasn't going to be anything worth, a damn. Well, $1 billion and change later, this thing has proven to be a worldwide success, a smash success, smashing bully. It was on the cock for a while, Peacock that is, and now it's on Netflix as of this recording. And my, oh my, what an entertaining, nostalgia-filled blast. Yes, it is a simple story, but you know what? It fucking works. And it got me. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. I'm not thinking of Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. How dare you accuse me of that? She looks great. But her as Peach, it fit. Yeah, sure, some of the voice casting, was fine. Jack Black as Bowser obviously stole the goddamn show. But Lumily was just great. I'd be wearing the shirt that's in the wash, unfortunately. But yeah, that was just... Lumily just being this depressed star that just wants to go, and then it's like the movie's over now, and all that's left is the infinite void. It's gonna get a sequel, and I'm excited for it. I didn't think I was gonna say that going into it. And then, speaking of things I didn't expect to like, I saw a sneak screening of number 20, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Queefs. I think that's how that is, Honor Among Thieves. After the 2000 version, you have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me that this was going to be any good. I thought this was going to be a dumpster fire. Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, and others. I did not think that this was going to be any good. They threw a lot of money towards it, Paramount did. $150 million reportedly. And you know what? It was a blast of entertainment. It was great. It flew by. It was over 2 hours, but it was fun. It even got a few emotional moments, too, because you cared about the characters. They actually did some good shit with it. A shame that this movie didn't succeed, but that could be down to marketing and also other stuff that came out at the time, and the fact that maybe people were burned by movies like this. But hopefully, maybe it finds a new life on streaming. They do a sequel, because I'd love to see a sequel to this. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was great. Number 19, Joyride. This is the other Sherry Cola movie that I really enjoyed, and I thought, okay, based on the trailer, it looks fine, but it's not going to necessarily be the most entertaining thing. Oh, from the very beginning, I was just having a blast. And Ashley Park, oh, sweet Jesus. Sweet Jesus, she's gorgeous. Sherry Cola, the part with Baron Davis is just so funny. There are so many funny moments. It's a gross out comedy, but it's great. I gotta get it on digital or get it on Blu-ray or something at some point. I gotta own this shit because I really had a lot of fun watching this. It wasn't a packed crowd that I watched it with, but there were enough people where we were laughing. The theater was filled with laughter. It was a lot of goddamn fun. Please check out Joyride. Number 18 for Neon Studios. A lot of Neon Studio love on this goddamn thing. How to blow up a pipeline. People that want to blow up a pipeline and basically stop this oil company from, you know, taking apart land and everything and doing all this bullshit. And it sets the stuff up where they're pretty much anti-heroes. You sort of root for them, but you also know that while, yeah, the cause is noble, they're not exactly the best people either, but it's well filmed. It's almost like guerrilla warfare style. Maybe not quite that. Probably should have left that one in the draft, but a lot of good shit, a lot of great casting going on here, and Neon Studios doing more great work. It's been a great year for Neon Studios. And Neon Studios isn't the only one that I'm going to be mentioning here as the list goes on. So we get to number 20, or number 20, we get to number 17. Beau is Afraid. That basically is from A24 and Ari Aster, who did Hereditary and Midsommar. I own a lot of A24 movies, including those, and I was excited for this because Joaquin Phoenix, basically being an anxiety-ridden individual who was just going nuts for 3 goddamn hours, and was just trying to get home, and trying to see his mother, trying to get home, just trying to do all this stuff, and just trying to, you know, just not be a ball of anxiety, and it was nuts. And there was a part in an attic that will stick out in my mind. It was a members-only thing, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to say the movie was necessarily the most cohesive, I guess, but Ari Aster certainly made it memorable. For good or bad, it was definitely something memorable. And Beau is Afraid, as Amanda the Jedi on YouTube may have said very, very eloquently, Beau is Afraid might have fundamentally broken something in my brain, but I still love A24, and I love A24. This isn't the only A24 movie that will be on the list, but man, Beau is Afraid was a lot of fun. I wanted to put it higher, but in hindsight, kind of couldn't. Speaking of A24, Close. 2 boys have a friendship, and it gets fractured. And it hurt. I had to pause when a certain thing happened in this movie. That's not the answer, by the way. Just, you know, help is out there. I'll say that much. But Close hits like a goddamn punch and a half, and then some to the solar plexus. It doesn't let go. You see grief, you see heartache, and all that, but Close deserves every bit of accolade that it got. Even if things don't necessarily drag, but just kind of go to a weird conclusion, it does end up working because Close just has great performances. The 2 boys are tremendous, especially the lead actor that you follow through the whole thing. He's tremendous. Apparently the director met him on a train, talked to him while it was a long train ride, and thought, hey, he'd be perfect for this movie. Okay. And then we get to Sisu, or Sisu, or Sisu Studio. It's basically taking place in World War II. There is a gentleman that discovers a bunch of gold. Nazis try to take it from him, and they realize that they messed with the wrong guy. And it's basically Die Hard and killing Nazis. It is wonderful. It is a blood-soaked battle of just assaults on the senses, that is, and on the sentences, evidently, based on how I'm not able to talk. But Sisu is a blast. I had so much fun. I need to rewatch this because I was just losing it in every good way in the theater. Again, drove to the same theater in Northgate to watch it that I drove to see Dream Scenario at. In fact, that's a great theater if you're in the Washington area, if you're in my area. Great theater to go to, even if you got to go up some escalators and flights of stairs and the escalators are broken and your knees are going to be totally shot, but it's worth it. And Sisu's worth it. Or Sisu. Sisu Studio is worth it. Please check it out because it deserves every bit of attention that it, gets. It got a lot of attention from a lot of people. They were saying it's a total blast, blood-soaked. It was great. And then we get to number 14, Evil Dead Rise. Mommy's with the maggots now. I do want to say, by the way, You know, and the thing about this movie, and it's just so great. I'm taking it off so you can actually see the cover here, but the cast, you know, Alyssa Sutherland, she's great. Lily Sullivan was also great in this, and even the kids, the younger kids, they were good. And it was taking the Evil Dead, you know, like concept out of the woods, and, you know, over to an apartment, to Grandma's house we go, hey. And sure, it follows some of the same familiar tropes. It's way better than the 2013 version. I think that it's as dark as it can be, while also having some good dark comedy. It also had one of the best goddamn title reveals I have seen in years. That is iconic shit. That's the time. God. Shot my voice trying to do that Evil Dead thing. Apologies. Allergies are a bitch. But the title reveal, that's iconic. Iconic is a word that gets thrown out a lot, but that absolutely is fitting for it. But yes, Evil Dead Rise was tremendous. What's also tremendous is number 14, Saltburn. Want to see Barry Keoghan in a tour de force performance? And stuff involving a drain and interesting oral? And also Rosamund Pike looking beautiful and a lot of really weird shit? And the guy that played Elvis and Priscilla in Something Better? Watch Saltburn. It's currently on Amazon if you have an Amazon Prime account. And it's worth it. It's not for everybody, but it is certainly something. It made me never able to hear Murder on the Dance Floor the same way again. And if you've seen the movie, you'll know why. It's also from the director of Promising Young Woman, which also ruined the song Angel of the Morning for me. That director is very, very good. Very good at running songs, but also is very good at doing stuff like dark comedy, mixed with suspense, mixed with a little bit of crazy gothic horror. This is a great mix. I had a great time watching it, even if I had to fight through Black Friday traffic to come back. So we get to number 12, Sanctuary. Goddamn Neon Studios. Maybe you're my favorite studio now. No, it's still A24, but Neon Studios is really, really close. Sanctuary had the daughter of Andy McDowell and another lad doing S&M stuff and crazy role-playing, and it was taking place almost entirely in a hotel room. And it was incredible. It was great. It was horrific and also jarring and the darkest rom-com I have seen in a long time. Because it was romantic in a sense, it was definitely comedic, and it was definitely wild, and I'm glad that I decided to plunk down some money to review it by renting it on Amazon. Worth checking out. What's also worth checking out is number 11, The Artifice Girl. Made for a small budget. The writer-director wore a lot of hats with this, and he did a great job. And The Artifice Girl deserved every bit of attention that it got, and was very, very emotional, very touching. Great conclusion. And it also left stuff a little bit open. It tied things up while also leaving the idea open-ended. And considering that it had the small budget and only took place in a few rooms over a number of years, they managed to make this movie work with a lot of depth and not a lot of characters, but a lot of great shit. I really enjoyed this stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. I was very, very impressed by The Artifice Girl. Number 10. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world wrapped in plastic. It's fantastic. I didn't think I was going to say Barbie was fantastic. And considering that I don't hate, but I don't really have a lot of love for Margot Robbie. I think she's all right, but I don't think she's as great as people think she is. Ryan Gosling stole the goddamn show. This also made me not hate Will Ferrell in a movie. This was great. Greta Gerwig, who did Lady Bird, did the Little Women remake, one of the many Little Women remakes. And Greta Gerwig, who has been good in other stuff, not so good in other stuff, managed to get $100 million and make one of the most successful movies of the goddamn year, opening the same time as Oppenheimer. Barbie was better, by the way. Oppenheimer can eat shit as far as I'm concerned. Even though it was well made, didn't really care for it. Again, full reviews of all these movies are on the Real Honest Movie Reviews playlist. But Barbie deserves to be in the top 10 because simply it was so entertaining. Ryan Gosling as Ken, he wasn't just Ken. He carried that movie till the end. I mean, and yet Issa Rae also in it. The gorgeous Issa Rae. American Ferrera was tremendous. You had so many great... Kate McKinnon. So many people. You had Hari Neff, who was in Assassination Nation, and I'm glad to see that she's getting more roles. Barbie was just great as far as the set, as far as the ridiculousness. Sure, you could argue it's a little bit too silly. It's also a movie called Barbie, and in the hands of another director might not work. It worked in the hands of Greta Gerwig, and also the performances. Number 9, Talk to Me. It's more British than Australian. Yeah, Talk to Me, by the way. And the reason that this is on there, Sophie Wilde was great. It's great. That's, by the way, just in case you're wondering who the hell I'm talking about. Her. It's her. The one who in the trailer is yelling, run, run, run. Basically, you hold on to a hand that helps you talk to the dead. You let demons in for 90 seconds. Not longer than 90 seconds or they'll want to stay. Then, obviously, since it's a horror movie directed by the Philippou brothers, who are YouTubers, and wanted to make this movie in their own way and use a little bit of inspiration from earlier in their life. A lot of stuff about how this is an allegory for drug use. Talk to Me is really, really fucking tremendous. It was my favorite horror movie of the year until one other one came along and beat it. And you probably know what that is if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time. But Talk to Me is really, really fucking tremendous. Very dark, very gritty, very brutal. It's a breezy 90 or 95 minutes, and it just packs in everything. It has a tremendous opening. One of the best openings to a horror movie I've seen in a while. But then we get to number 8, The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti and his Shawn Michaels-like eyes carry this movie along with the young actor, the main kid, whose name unfortunately escapes me right now because I've seen so many movies this year. It was his first on-screen acting role, and that young lad deserves so much more attention. And just great casting. It focuses around 3 particular people over Christmas break in 1971. And it's great stuff. You get invested in these characters. You get to enjoy, watching their ups and downs all around come on defense work. But The Holdovers was so goddamn good. One of the best holiday movies ever. Even though the director says it's not a holiday movie, it's taking place around that. It's going to be one of those that's going to be considered a cult classic for years to come. And it's great stuff. And Paul Giamatti delivers the best performance of his career since Sideways. Maybe even better than that one. And then we get to number 7, 1001. Tiana Taylor absolutely nailed it here. Absolutely nailed it. This was incredible. She carried it. The stuff about the mother-son dynamic wrenches on you, tears away at your the fabric of your being. You absolutely just feel for both of them. You recognize that not everybody's perfect, and that some people don't realize they're victims until years after, and it is just wild. But Miss Taylor helped just basically, get out of the shadow of being a white man can't jump. Even though she was good in that, 1001 is something that you can absolutely dive into. It's not an easy watch, but it's gritty. It is goddamn good. It is incredibly well acted, incredibly well written. I can't wait to see what the director does in the future. Number 6, Poor Things. Emma Stone, Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, and various others. Watching Emma Stone basically, grow up as some kind of experiment and everything, and finding out why later on, it's great. This was just a blast from the beginning, and great dark comedy, great body horror, and just great stuff in general. Emma Stone deserves a fucking Oscar nomination for her goddamn role. She was incredible. Check out my review of this. Number 5, Bottoms. Welcome to our fucking Fight Club. My favorite comedy of the year. Favorite comedy. By far. I watched this movie 3 times. I bought this on digital. And I don't buy a lot of movies on digital. I mean, sometimes I buy them on Blu-ray. But a lot of times I don't buy on digital. And considering that a lot of Blu-rays are going away from big retailers, I probably should get into buying, stuff on Blu-ray while I can. But I'm really glad that I decided to watch Bottoms. I actually saw a sneak screening of it. The same weekend that my cat was actually starting to get better after an infection. Don't worry, folks. For those of you to watch, the producer is doing just fine. But yeah, I decided to go watch that. I got my reserved seat and went to that same Northgate Theater. Yes, maybe I will marry the Northgate Theater. Shut up. But Rachel Sennett, Io Edebury, who's in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who's also in Theater Camp, which is another one I should have put in the honorable mentions, because actually Theater Camp was quite good. She's been in a whole bunch of stuff. But Marshawn Lynch was so goddamn great. This was so fucking funny. so fucking funny. The characters worked. It was like Mean Girls with a bloody twist. Please watch Bottoms, please. It's so good. We get to number 4. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Okay, be honest. You're surprised I own this. You're surprised that I own this. In all seriousness, though, this is exactly the kind of movie, the coming-of-age movie, that studios wish they could make. And it's just so good. I mean, you got all this stuff. You have Abby Ryder Forston. I always, screw up her name, so I wanted to read it here on the back. But you have her. You have Kathy Bates. You have Rachel McAdams, old enough to play a mom. I mean, that's definitely surprising, but this was just such a great coming-of-age story. And Abby, she's going to be a fucking star. She did great here. It's based on a book that was very controversial for the time. But it was originally, number 1 or right around there in the at the midpoint of the year. But Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is 100% worth watching. And it also doesn't drag. It gives you enough with the characters and gives you enough telling the story of growing up, womanhood and all that, and tells it in a nice way where everybody can appreciate it. Now we get to number 3, When Evil Lurks. I watched this twice. I watched it once in theaters, a private screening. Not intended to be a private screening, but nobody else showed up, and it was a good thing that nobody else was there. So I was like, fuck, holy shit, and it's a Shudder original now, and you need to check it out. It's from the director of Terrified, and it is relentless. Absolutely relentless, and it is so haunting. It is so dark. It is so visceral, and it's good. I'm never going to look at somebody walking down a road again and driving by them the same way. And if you've seen the movie, you know why. And it has an ending that's haunting. It is just relentless. When Evil Lurks is tremendous. Please check it out. My favorite horror movie of the year. Number 2. I'm going to tell you right now, it's close between number 2 and number 1. Number 2, Godzilla -1. Now, I thought the movie might be good when I saw the trailer. I didn't think it would be this good. It was the best Godzilla movie of the entire last, I'd say, 40 or so years. One of the best Godzilla movies ever. Arguably, maybe the best Godzilla movie ever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's a bit too much hyperbole. I think that's what the term is. But Godzilla -1 was made for, I think in US dollars, $15 million. 15 to 20 million for this, with these kind of action scenes, and the fact that Godzilla was darker, meaner, and they had an emotional depth to the characters. One particular line near the end that absolutely gutted me because it was a question and it fit the story, and I need to get this on Blu-ray when it comes out. I'd watch it in theaters again if I had time, but I'm going to be busy, working for a while because of the holidays. I'm absolutely captivated by Godzilla -1. Number 1, okay, I've mentioned this to every man, woman, animal, vegetable, mineral, non-binary. Doesn't matter. Past lives. Celine's songs, tremendous telling of, reflecting on your past, meeting somebody from your past, wondering where life could have taken you, and just the power pack performances, the way that this movie was put together, the production, the characters, being introduced on screen, and it seems so real, so visceral, and just so gutting. The performances were fucking tremendous. I love Past Lives. A24, once again, fucking nailing it. That's my list of favorite movies of the year. Best movies of the year, that is. Let me know yours in the comments, please. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. Let's see what 2024 brings. See you soon.